Okay.
Hmm. Good evening to everyone all. And today I can discuss the topic name is cloud computing in third year BTech, second semester subject. And one is for using for the cloud as a service. First one is what is a meaning of the cloud computing and what is the services. And in this topic, I can discuss the introduction part and having the introduction part and what are the gamets of a cloud solutions, what are the technologies are maybe using for the principle of technologies, and the what are different types of the cloud strategies are maybe using, and the cloud design and the implementation of the SOA means service oriented architecture. We can implement the cloud designing and implementation using the various types of a service oriented architecture, and the concept of the cloud model, and what are the cloud services are the defined, and we can various what are the cloud solutions and the introduction part, and the cloud ecosystem and the cloud business process management are maybe using the various of the topics are maybe discussed in this class, and what are the cloud provisioning of the engine and computing of demand. And next one is cloud computing is a first one is having the cloud computing. Cloud computing is a one of the as a service. They should provide different types of services provided by the cloud computing. First one is introduction part. Now, what are the government of a cloud solutions? What are different types of the principle of the technologies and the cloud strategy and the cloud design and the implementation of using the SOA service oriented architecture and the conceptual cloud model and the cloud service defined. And next one are maybe using for, and what is a introduction of the cloud computing. In today's world, economic business are faced with the various challenges of the data. They should be using for today's world. You can using for the economy is many business applications are faced with the challenges are like talking the cost of their infrastructure, and we should cost means cost or maybe increases to storage of the data. We should be deliver the new and the innovative of the business services, and do and we can store the large amount of data with the less, we can store the large amount of data do with the more less amount, and fast changing of their IT infrastructure and the IT resources of optimization and the lowering of the cost, and added the rental style of the capability of the IT resources are using, should be using for the various of the innovations, should be using the cloud infrastructure. And next one is it should be discussed. The next concept is cloud computing. What are the defined? What is the meaning of the cloud computing? Cloud computing is a defines the various of the new ways methods to the using for the various of the managers of the IT resources, means IT infrastructure of the various resources are like CPU, keyboard and monitor, and various of physical of the devices, and they should be manages the various of the IT resources, thus enabling the self-services provision of the IT resources. They should be enabling the services for the self-servicing provisioning of the various of the IT resources, and the metering style of the accounting based on the uses of the time, and the you should be using for the automation of the management. In this today's world, you should be using for the digitalization, means you should be using for the every document is can be stored into the part of the digitalization, and they should be using for the various of the works are maybe defining with the digitalization. They should be using for the portal login and select the system, and they're using for the various of the selecting the secure layer of the architectures, and their various of the zones, and what are the different types of the emails and SMS and systems login they should be using. What are the common attributes of the CIS cloud infrastructure? Cloud infrastructure is a what are the common of the attributes are maybe using for the cloud infrastructure as the services. First one is cloud infrastructures are maybe using for the flexible pricing, and pricing rate is very low, and utility pricing, flexible pricing means the price rate may be having the should be storing of the data is very flexible of the pricing, and utility of the pricing, and pay by consumption. What are the you should be using for? Suppose we can take the one of the mobile services and should be using the our SIM phone may be using for only recharge only, they should be using the services. And in this also, cloud computing services are maybe using for the pay by consumption means, and the using for the subscription modeling, and we should be using for the subscription of the modeling or maybe using in the, these are the various common attributes of the cloud infrastructure. First one is using for the flexible pricing. Second one is elastic scaling. And third one is using for the rapid provisioning of the data IT. And fourth one is using for the various types of the offerings. And next one is first one, the flexible pricing is you should be using for the utility of the pricing rate, and you should be using for the pay by consumption and subscription of the model. And second one is using for the elastic scaling. Various resources are maybe scale up and scale down as a demand of the challenges, and they should be using for the rapid provisioning of the IT, and their network capacity are automatically and rapidly are the provisioned, and rapid provisioning of the infrastructure and the network capacity are the automatically and rapidly of the provisionized, and they should be using for the various of the standardized offerings. They should be using for the standardized offerings or maybe using for uniform offerings are available from the services catalog on a meterized basis. And first one is various of the types of the provisioning of the steps are maybe using for the provision of steps are maybe various of the physical components, and various types are maybe using. And next one is using for the unpredictable of the bursting. Bursting means the CPU time may be computer, and the accuracy of the time voltage is very low. And these are the various common attributes are maybe using for the cloud infrastructure. And there are 4 different types of the common attributes are maybe using for the cloud infrastructure. First one is flexible scaling. Second one is elastic scaling. Third one is rapid provisioning. And fourth one is standardized offerings. And next one is there are 2 primary levers to achieve the cost optimization. In cloud computing, there are 2 primary levers are maybe to achieve the cost optimization. First one is operating expansive means OPEX. Next one is capital expansive means CAP expansive. These are the strike rate of balancing between the operative expansing and the capital of the expansing, and they should be using for the capital of the expansing is a based on the station of the equipment and core network of the equipment, wireless, backhaul equipment, and site acquisition of the cost, and various of the site development of the cost. And OPEX means OPEX is a operating expense is a network maintenance, and first one is capital of the expense is a they should be using for the base station of the equipment, and next one is they should be using for the base station of equipment and the core networking of the equipment and their wireless backhaul equipment, site acquisition of the cost and site development of the cost. And next one is OPEX means operating expensive is a network maintenance, backhaul of the installation, backhaul of the costs, site rentals and the utilities, and device subsidies and support and warranty, and they should be using a subscriber acquisition of the cost, BSS and CSS cost, and marketing and advertising of the GA, marketing advertising of the various of the GAs are maybe using for operating expensive and the capital of the expensive. And what are the cloud types? Cloud types are maybe using for the, as a service. Just to complete the outsource are maybe using for that as a services. First one is cloud types and their services. First one is there are three types of the cloud types of the services. First one is ISA, means infrastructure as a service. First one is we should be using for the infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure as a service or maybe using for the computer power and storage and file system as a services. They should be having the computer power, storage and the file system or can be as a services for the infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure means they should provide the various of the infrastructure of the services to the computer system that may be related to the computer power, and storage means what the amount of data can be storage into the computer. They may be having the in the bytes and megabytes and the kilobytes and megabytes. After that, gigabytes of data can be storage into the infrastructure as a service. And next one is what are the storage can be stored into the file system as a services or maybe stored into the infrastructure as a service. And second one is platform as a service. Platform as a service. They should be providing for the platform means we should be using for the various of the programming platforms or maybe using of the services. Some of the programming languages are maybe using for the platform independent, and that is a platform independent means one of the programming languages is Java programming. Java programming is one of the platform independent of the programming language. And platform independent, some of the languages are maybe having the platform dependent languages are maybe using for the C language and C++ and Visual Basic and various types of programming languages are used. That maybe cloud should be providing the various of the platform as the services, provide the different types of the services should be provided. Next, third type is there are three types of the services. First one is infrastructure as a service. Second one is platform as a service. Third one is using for the software as a services. Service they should be using for the CRM means customer relationship management. Customer relationship management or maybe using for the software as a service, and they should be using for the various of the e-business means electronic business process as a services or maybe using for the software as a services. They should be using for the possible of becoming a automation, possible of becoming a automation or maybe using for the infrastructure as a services in the cloud computing. Sure. First one is infrastructure as a service. Second one is platform as a service. Third one is software as a services or maybe using for the cloud types and their services. Next, cloud computing can be introduced the new concept of the IT as a service. IT means infrastructure as a services should be provided by the cloud computing. To support this cloud infrastructure must be deliver the following of the topics. First one is abstraction. Second one is virtualization. Third one is dynamic allocation. Fourth one is data management. Sure. And first one is the support the cloud infrastructure. There are three types of the services are maybe using for the cloud computing. First one is infrastructure. Cloud computing is using for the cloud infrastructure must be delivered to the abstraction. Second one is virtualization. Third one is dynamic allocation. Fourth one is data management. Abstraction means allows the end users to focusing on the execution of the high value activities then on a operation of the applications. Abstraction means the end users are maybe only focusing on a high value of the